Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice the radio, so today I am absolutely delighted to be bringing you a new Chandelure card. I love Chandelure. He is my boy on Pokken Tournament. I have previously done a video about every Chandelure card ever. Although it's now clearly out of date with this new one coming out, Chandelure's had a lot of interesting cards in the past. But most of them have just not actually made that leap into being great in competitive play. Now, obviously, there was this one, which did see play in Excelgor decks for a little while. But now, ladies and gentlemen, this new one, I know it's a Stage 2, and I know the Stage 2s are iffy, but it could legitimately be awesome. Now, I should thank the lovely David Hochmann over at LimitlessTCG.com, who did bring us a translation here. And starting off, it's got 140 HP, which honestly is low. His colleague from Pokken Tournament, Empoleon, sits there with 160, 140, I'm going to be honest with you, a little bit low. And the weakness to darkness is a little bit of a pain because, of course, Zoroark is still everywhere. But then again, it's only doing an extra 20 damage in reality, so that could be a little bit worse. The resistance to fighting is awesome because Buzzwole is running around at the moment, and also post-rotation, Buzzwole is losing strong energy, which means it's generally only going to have Diancie Prism Star because Beast Energy is a once per game thing, which means they'll be doing 30 damage to you while you hit them for weakness. Which is nice, because of course you are hitting weakness against Buzzwole and you are hitting weakness on the Necrozma. Being Psychic type means you're hitting weakness on most Psychic and most fighting Pokemon. Yes, I know there are exceptions to both, and that, as far as I'm concerned, is awesome. Retreat cost of 2 I'm not a fan of because a skateboard will not give you free retreat post-rotation, but you can't have it all. Overall, I'm pretty gosh darned happy. Now, the first attack here is okay. It's fine. Curse Drop. Put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like for just a single Psychic Energy. Fun fact, exactly the same as the first attack on Chandelure EX. And also, fun fact, I spent a lot of time trying to make Chandelure EX good, trying to find a deck in which it will work. Couldn't do it. Could not do it. It's not a particularly good card, and that also makes me very sad. Placing 4 damage counters is great. Now, the fact that you're placing damage counters rather than actually doing damage can be pretty good. Used to be that everyone was playing Mr. Mime, or people that were playing this kind of thing were playing Mr. Mime, which only protected from damage, and it wouldn't protect from this. Annoyingly, nowadays, your 2 options are Machoke, which does protect from damage counters, and Sky Pillar, which protects from damage and other effects of attacks done to bench Pokemon, which means that both of them will actually stop this. Having said that, if you find something like a Magikarp, for instance, that's got an ability which stops damage when it's on the bench, then this will go through that. So a little Magikarp sitting on the bench going, ha ha ha, I've got Submerge. Well, that only protects from damage, so you will be able to drop damage counters on here, which will be lovely. So, okay, we've got some decent uses for this first attack. It's not amazing. Now, as always, if it's a single energy attack, you can get away with using stuff like Max Potion to heal up. But I'm going to be honest, this is like, ooh, there's a 30 HP Magikarp on the bench, I can take a cheeky prize. Or I've hit 2 Tapu Lele for 150 each, and they've retreated to the bench, so I can KO both of them with this one attack kind of thing. It's only going to be good as an ancillary attack. It's a nice bonus, but nothing more. Good news is the main attack. The main attack is wonderful. 2 Psychic Energy, and I've checked this with David, and he has confirmed the translation. This attack does 20 damage for each damage counter on your opponent's Pokemon in play. What that means is you add up all the damage on all of your opponent's Pokemon, double it, and then do that to your opponent's active. That's ludicrous. I'll give you an example of how dumb this can be. You take a Tapu Koko, your opponent's got a full bench, you use Flying Flip for just a double colourless energy, putting 20 damage on all of your opponent's Pokemon. 6 Pokemon, 20 damage each, that's 120 damage total. Which means you're then doing 240 to your opponent's active. That's over the top good. I adore this, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is a great, great attack. Now, it is a stage 2, and it is a bit slow. But you could combine this with something like Latios. Now, Latios does less damage overall, so I think Tapu Koko is the better option here. But Latios does 30 to the active, 30 to one of the bench, or maybe you use a choice band and do 60 to the active, 30 to one of the bench. Well, if you've done 30-30, then you do 120 to the active. If you've done 60-30, you do 180 to the active. And this is before weakness and before you pop a choice band. Now, annoyingly, Zoroark will resist this, because otherwise you use a Latias to do 60 then 30, 180, with a choice band 210, you're getting a one-hit KO. Yes, the stage 2-ness of this will make it a bit slow, but there's plenty of basics, and Tapu Koko really does spring to mind here, where you can essentially set this up and then bring in Chandelure, and when I say sweep, I mean sweep with Chandelure. Because unless your opponent is able to heal all of their Pokemon, you'll just be doing a crazy amount of damage. I mean, let's say you can get 2 Tapu Kokos off here. Then that's 240 damage on your opponent's side of the field. In total, 40 to each of 6. That's 480 damage. Even if they heal a couple Pokemon, you'll be fine. This attack had to be on a stage 2 because it does so much damage. It's almost ludicrous. I adore this. Now, it's going to take a bit of setup. Chandelure is not a Pokemon you just bring in and use. And I know the first attack drops damage counters. It drops 4, meaning the next Chandelure does 80 damage. The first attack here isn't good enough. It's good for dropping 4 damage counters if you really need to drop them on different Pokemon. Generally speaking, it's not good enough. But you've got both Latios and Tapu Koko here, who just seem built specifically for a deck like this. And one thing your opponent could potentially do here is go, right, well, if I know that you just want me to have lots of Pokemon out so you can spread lots of damage to Tapu Koko, I'm going to only put a couple Pokemon on the field to stop you doing that. Fine. That's when you bring in Latios, which does a bit more damage per Pokemon, but to fewer Pokemon overall. I mean, obviously, we could look at something like a Greninja GX deck here, using a combination of Frogadier that drops 2 damage counters and Greninja that drops 3, but I think at that stage, you're trying to build in 2 stage 2s, and it's getting a little bit awkward. Now, in terms of the energy cost here, 2 Psychic is not over the top. Now, Malamar could be used, but again, I think you're combining stage 2s and stage 1s and it's getting messy. What I think you really need here is basic setup Pokemon, and I'm looking at Latios and Tapu Koko, and then bringing in this when you've got a couple evolved up. But as well as it only being a 2 energy attack, you got counter energy. And if you're behind on prizes, counter energy will pay the entire cost of this in one go. So there is a deck to be made here, and I really do think there is a good deck to be made here, where you essentially spread round with Tapu Koko or Latias turn after turn, you let yourself go down by a couple of prizes while spreading a whole bunch of damage, and then just go nuts using this with counter energy. Of course, you could also use something like Makago GX, but then again, Makago GX is a little bit of a pain because it's a stage 1. Or you could even use something like an Electro GX here, KO it, and then attach 5 energy from your discard to your non-EX, non-GX Pokemon in any way you like, which of course in this respect will just be your Chandelure or the pre-evolutions thereof, while opening up counter energy and also counter catcher. This is a deck that I love. Now, I'm a Chandelure fanboy, right? So I'm always going to be slightly more positive on Chandelure than other people might be. but the damage potential here is absolutely over the top. If you can get a couple of flying flips off and then get a couple of Chandelure, I think you can win a lot of games here. Plus it's a non-GX, plus it hits weakness on and resist Buzzwole. I'm giving this 4 Wassies. And it might be too generous. It might be my Chandelure love coming out to the 4, and I don't even care. Because I think this deck could be great. I think you've got to combine it with basics. I think if you start trying to bring in stuff like Malamar and Greninja, it's going to be way too inconsistent. But I think there is a really good deck to be made here. You don't often see Pokemon doing this insane amount of damage for just 2 energy. I am enjoying this, but I want to know what you think about Chandelure. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, tell me if I am being a little bit over the top, or tell me whether I can spend my days playing Chandelure decks and my nights playing a Chandelure on Pokken Tournament. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.